I had been feeling it for weeks, that subtle shift in our home. A tension I couldn't name but couldn't ignore either. Every laugh from Sarah, my wife, felt like it was aimed at someone else, someone I wasn't. And then it happened, the moment that broke the last thread holding me in place. It was a Saturday evening. I was sitting at the kitchen table, my laptop open, pretending to review work emails, though my eyes kept drifting toward the living room. Sarah was on the couch scrolling her phone, smirking at something. Not a casual smile, not a laugh shared with me. It was one of those flirtatious, self-satisfied grins that made my chest tighten. "Hey roommate," she said, without looking up, voice light, teasing, as if she were talking to a stranger sharing space in her apartment. My stomach dropped. "Roommate," I echoed quietly, trying to mask the sting. She finally glanced up, eyes sparkling, lips curved in amusement. "Yeah, roommate," she repeated, like it was a joke. But I felt the weight behind it, the invisible distance she had been cultivating for months. Earlier that day, I had tried to plan something special, a quiet dinner, candles, a few flowers, just to reconnect. But she had waved it off, distracted, claiming she was too tired from work, brushing past me as if I were an obstacle, not a husband. I watched her now, feeling the finality of it sinking in. The woman I had loved, who once made me feel wanted and seen, now treated me with casual detachment, her attention elsewhere, her charm directed at everyone but me. A sudden pang of clarity hit me. I had been ignoring the signs for too long, pretending this was a phase, a rough patch. But laughter, flirtation, and words like roommate weren't just harmless, they were warnings. Boundaries had been crossed, respect had been eroded, and my patience, my sense of self, had reached its limit. I stood up slowly, letting my chair scrape the floor. Sarah looked up, tilting her head, still amused, still unaware that the calm I was projecting masked the storm inside me. I knew then, with a certainty that had been building silently for months, that it was time to leave. I walked toward the living room, trying to keep my movements casual, but every step felt heavier than the last. Sarah looked up again, eyes flicking over me with that same playful spark, oblivious to the storm brewing inside. I could no longer ignore the truth. I was living with someone who no longer saw me as a partner, as a husband, or even as an equal. "Going out tonight?" I asked, voice calm, almost neutral. She laughed, tossing her hair. "Maybe." "Why? Are you jealous, roommate?" The words hit me like a slap. Jealous? No, I thought. This isn't about jealousy. This is about respect, about dignity, about realizing that love shouldn't feel like a cage or a constant guessing game. I remembered the subtle hints over the past few months, the lingering texts, the sudden phone calls she'd shielded from me, the way she'd brush past me to answer a message with a smile meant for someone else. Every small betrayal had been a puzzle piece, and now, they all formed a picture I couldn't unsee. I sat down on the edge of the couch, facing her directly. "Sarah, we need to talk." Her laughter faltered for a second, curiosity flickering in her eyes. "About what?" she asked, tone still light, trying to maintain control of the scene. "About us," I said simply. "About the fact that this," I gestured at the space between us, "whatever this has become, isn't a marriage anymore. Not for me." Her face changed then, just a flash, surprise, irritation, disbelief. "Come on, don't be dramatic," she said, attempting to mask her reaction. But I was past dramatics. I was past excuses. I had watched her flirt with everyone and call me roommate, while pretending everything was fine. My heart wasn't breaking anymore. It had hardened. I could feel the chains of denial snapping one by one. The house that had once been our sanctuary now felt like a stage for a performance I had unwillingly played a part in for far too long. I stood up, straightened my back, and looked her in the eyes. "I've waited for months for you to see what's happening between us. You haven't. I've been patient, loving, forgiving. But I can't anymore. I need to leave, before I lose myself completely." Sarah opened her mouth, probably to argue, to laugh, to dismiss me again. But this time, I didn't wait for her response. I turned toward the door, every step decisive, every heartbeat echoing with the certainty that some doors, once opened, cannot be closed again. I reached the front door and paused for a moment, hand on the handle, listening to the faint sounds of her laughter behind me. For the first time in months, I felt a strange mixture of relief and sorrow. Relief, because I was finally taking control of my life. Sorrow, because the person I once loved had become someone I no longer recognized. I grabbed my coat from the rack and walked out into the crisp evening air, letting the coolness wash over the heat of anger and disappointment. Each step away from the house was a step toward clarity, toward reclaiming my self-respect. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. The echoes of her words, roommate, the flirtations, the dismissive laughter, were fading behind me. They belonged to a chapter one was done reading. As I drove through the quiet streets, my mind replayed the months of subtle betrayals. The little moments I had tried to ignore, the growing feeling that something was off, the countless times I rationalized her actions. Every small sign now formed a pattern, a warning I had chosen to overlook. And yet, as painful as it had been to accept, the truth was liberating. I realized that leaving wasn't just about escaping disrespect. It was about creating space for authenticity, for a life where my worth wasn't questioned or minimized. Later that night, I called my closest friend Mark to tell him what had happened. He listened, silent for a few moments, then said, "You did the right thing, Ben. Some people only respect you when you stop waiting for their permission to be treated with dignity." His words resonated deeply. This wasn't just a breakup. It was a reclaiming of my identity, a statement that I would no longer be sidelined, ignored, or belittled. Back home, I packed a small bag, taking only what I truly needed. The rest could stay. A symbolic gesture that the past wasn't worth carrying with me. As I closed the door one last time, I felt a calm I hadn't known in months. No dramatic confrontations, no yelling, no pleading. Just the quiet strength of someone who had recognized the value of self-respect and chosen it over familiarity and comfort. I drove into the night, uncertain of the days ahead but certain of this. Leaving was the first step toward freedom, toward reclaiming my life from a situation that had slowly chipped away at my dignity. And for the first time in a long while, I felt fully alive, fully present, and fully in charge of my own story.